Solve the given system of equations by either Gaussian elimination or Gauss-Jorden elimination. So here is your linear equations. You have three equations, which means that you are going to have three unknowns, and your goal is to find those three unknowns. So first, you have to rewrite it in terms of in form of a matrix. So basically, you just take each of the leading coefficient of x, y, z and put it out into a matrix. So for example, for the first equation, I have 1x, so I have 1 plus 1y, 1 minus 2z, I have negative 2 equals 14, so I have 14, and you are going to do the same thing for the rest two equations. Okay, don't forget to carry the sign of the coefficient as you put it out into the matrix. Okay, and typically to solve a matrix, your goal is to write it in this form, or you need to get a 1 in the diagonal line, so downward this way or this way for the diagonal. Doesn't matter as long as you have 1 for x and 0 for yz, 1 for y, 0 for x and z, and 1 for z and 0 for x and y. Okay, so here's the meaning of this representation. So 1 mean 1x, 0 y, 0 z equals a number. Okay, and over here you have 0x, 0z, so you have 1y equals a number. Same thing for this one, so the goal is to get this. Okay, so back to this one. So here's my matrix. So you so following that method, I need to get the 1 in this diagonal line, so I'm given the 1 right here, so I'm going to use that method and follow using this equation, following that way. So my goal is to eliminate this and this to get 0. Okay, so how? Okay, let me cover this one so that you don't get confused. Let's do this way. Okay, so now I have two equations, right? And the first entry is 1 for the first equation, for the first row, so we good. So I need just rewrite it. Okay, for the second equation, in order to get 0 for the first entry, I need to multiply the first row by 2 and add it up onto the second row. So I have negative 2 times 1, which is negative 2, plus 2 is 0, so that's why I have 0 over here. Now multiply the first row by negative 2. Negative 2 times 1, negative 2, minus 1, negative 3. Okay, negative 2 times negative 2, 4, positive 4, plus 1, positive 5. Negative 2 times 14, negative 28, plus 0, negative 28. Okay, right. So normally, after you done that step, you are going to rewrite the third row, right? But in order to save time, and you are at this level, it's okay, you can do that way, but you just waste your time. So I'm going to make this 0, okay, during this step. So using the same method, cannot do that, cannot cover because my finger is big. It will work. Okay, all right, so now let me cover the second row. Okay, so now in order to get 0 for the first entry of the third row, I need to multiply the first row by negative 6 and add it onto the third row. Negative 6 times 1, negative 6 plus 6, 0. Negative 6 times 1, negative 6 plus 3, negative 3. Negative 6 times negative 2, positive 12, plus 4, positive 16. Negative 6 times 14, so I got a negative 82 plus negative 84, plus 1, negative 83. Okay, so very quickly I can get 0 for the second and third row, for the first column of the second and third row. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, I already worked this out. So here just the matrix that we set up early. So let's call this is the first equation, second equation, third equation, or you can call it first row, second row, third row, right? So normally you would, so once you have the 1 here, you would consider this as the pivot point. Okay, so rewrite this row. So I just rewrote it, and for the second row I need to make it 0. So using Gaussian elimination, I'm going to multiply the first row by negative 2 and add it up onto second row, which I noticed here. Multiply the first row by negative 2 and add it up onto the second row. So negative 2 times this, add up on this, get 0, negative 2, negative 3, negative 2, 4, 5, negative 2, negative 28. Okay, and then rewrite the third row. So this is what you normally do. And then after that step, you need to get 0 for the first 0 for the first column of the first row. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing you did for the second row. So use the row that you haven't used first, that you haven't used. Don't use the row that you already did. So don't use this row, use the first row. Okay, use the row that you haven't touched. Okay, so multiply the first row by -6 and add it up onto the third row. -6 times the first row, add it up onto the third row. Okay, so that's my note here. I make a note for myself. So -6 plus 6, 0, -6 plus 3, -3, -6, 12, 14, 6, 12, 4, 16. Okay, -6, 80, -84 plus 1, -83. Okay, now let's compare. So for this method, I just go from this matrix to this matrix, just one step, right? But using this method, I have to write another matrix, and legally you can do it in one step, right? So why you have to spend more time doing this unnecessary step, right? But many people have different understanding. So if you cannot do the way I introduced you earlier, you can use this method. But it just takes your time. Okay, so I'm going to use the method I already introduced to you. All right, now back to the problem, the actual problem. Now we are at this step. Okay, now notice the next step you are going to do is to make this one, right? But before you do that, because this is a matrix, there's many ways you can go around in order to get the answer. So think about it before you work it out. Okay, work it wisely, don't work it hard. Okay, so I see -3 and -3 for the second column of the second and third rows. Okay, so this is the column, this is the row, of course you know. So I see this. So if I add these up, no, if I subtract these up, I will get 0 for either the second row or the third row. So because anyway you have to get the diagonal of 1, so this has to be 0 anyway. So at this step I'm going to go around that way. So I am going to subtract the third row by the second row. Okay, so -3 minus -3, which gives me 0. So that means I have to rewrite the first row and the second row. So rewrite them. Take the second row, subtract the third row. Okay, so just follow me. It's really confusing when you mess up one of the number when you do a matrix. -3 plus 3, I got 0. I mean -3 minus of -3, I got 0. 5 minus 16, I got, it's actually let's see, what did I do? Oh, I remember what. So for this one, instead of I take a -3, subtract a -3, I multiply the second row by -1 and add it up onto the third row. Okay, so let me take it back, go back here. Let me start over. Multiply second row by -1, add it up onto the third row. -1 times -3, positive 3 plus -3, 0. -5 plus 16, you got 11. -5 times -28 minus 83, I got -55. Okay, so at this point, work wisely, don't work hard. Okay, at this point I see that I have, this means that you have 11z equals -55. So why don't you work it out right here? So let's rewrite the first and second row. Okay, and for the third row, divide the third row by 11. So I have 1 equals -5. So that is z value. 1z equals -5. So z equals -5. Now let's go back up. So now I have 1 right here. So I need to make this and this 0. Okay, so let's do this first. So in order to make this 0, I have to multiply this by -5 and add it up onto 2. So these stays the same because you multiply this by 5, so it doesn't change anything. So I have 0, -3, -5 plus 5, 0, -5, 25, so minus 28, so I got -3. Okay, now doing the same thing for the first row to get 0 for the third column. So multiply this by 2 and add it up onto the first row. So I still have 1 because 0 0 plus 1 is 1, 0 plus 1 is 1, 2 plus negative 2 is 0, 2 times negative 5, negative 10, plus 14, I got 4, okay? Right, now let's move over this one. So now I have negative 3 equals negative 3 because I got 0, 0 here. So now I can divide the second row by negative 3 to get 1. So, and rewrite the first and the third rows, okay? So for this row divided by negative 3, I got 0, 1, 1. Negative 3 divided by negative 3, I got 1, okay? Now let's back up here. So from this point, I need to get this 0, okay? So very simple, you multiply this by negative 1 and then add it up onto the first row. Of course, you will write the third row in the second row. So for the first row, you multiply this row by negative 1, add it up onto the first row. So that's 1, negative 1 plus 1, 0, 0, 0, negative 1 plus 4, 3, okay? So you end up with the diagonal line of 1, and here's the value for each of the values. So this means that x equals 3, y equals 1, z equals negative 5, okay? So that's.
If you find the video is helpful, feel free to give it a like, share, and subscribe to my channel in order to receive the most current videos. Don't forget to hit the bell so that you won't miss anything. I'll see you next time.